Hello and welcome to the pre-race show of the Spring Motorsport Festival happening at Aldous Grabanti in Port Elizabeth. Yes, indeed, and we are launching an event that, for the first time, speed and sound meet in one location. So, what can you expect from our Spring Motorsport Festival? On Friday, we have an African first with a complete night race for the GT3s starting at 6 o'clock. After the 1-hour GT3 race, we'll be switching to drag racing, and in the background, DJ Zane will be performing live. On Saturday, the program goes into overdrive with 2 1-hour GT3 races, and at 4 o'clock, it's the start of the 6-hour endurance. While the South African endurance races compete for the win, we'll have 3 top acts on our music stage. DJ Zane will kick off the festival and then hand over the stage to Jesse Clegg. As the racing draws to a close, Good Luck will take us over the finish line. And of course, the entire event will be streamed live on our social media channels. This time, a number of cars will have onboard cameras to bring us all closer to the action. And in the pits, the lovely Kriya Gangia will be reporting live from the event. In this first season, we've seen the SAES series evolve into a seasonal motorsport festival. But there's a whole lot more to it. And I had the opportunity to sit down with the 2 main stakeholders in SAES and Africa Race Together. This is an intimate, in-depth interview with 2 key players that are here to change the South African motorsport landscape.
Man, I always say I blame Aldous Grabanti. He came there with a serviette and a couple of names on, and he called us around and said, "Can we chat?" And it was literally the whole movement, the sector thing was created within, I think, a month. And guys bought into the idea, and it started there. And I think from there, we spoke to Roger Pierce, who was the actual series owner of South African Endurance. And that's when it struck me, and I spoke to Zolile. I said, "My brother, we have this vision. I know that's your vision as well. Why don't we buy this series from Mr. Roger Pierce?" I mean, he did a wonderful job, okay? And for you to become 51% shareholder in us, to be the official first and only black promoter in motorsport in South Africa.
You know, when the opportunity came last year to take over the series, when Mr. Roger Pierce was retiring, it was a lovely opportunity for us to have this opportunity passed on to younger people. And more than anything else, an opportunity where a man of color would pair up with a white individual to make sure that the Rainbow Nation dream continues. So when this opportunity came, I took it with both hands. And I must say, the series has done well. The face, the presentation of the series, the new way of doing things. We had our first race in East London that started almost at dawn. And all these new things, all these new packages, all this new formatting of the series, hopefully will bring enthusiasm into the sport.
Why? Because we don't entertain the public anymore. No, what is it else than a show? So I said, man, I need to get the show back on the road. And the only way to have a show is to bring things for everybody there. You know, it's you want to have fun, you want to enjoy life.
Future of ASAS is going to be great. Unfortunately, the only thing that will stand between it being better and great is the involvement of other people in it. This can't be about 2 men. In fact, we don't even call it we're just guys that have been given an opportunity to work in this dream.
Mechanics. You know, we also having programs where we train young black mechanics to come into the sport, give them exposure to go overseas to teams. So it's not just about drivers, it's about the collective. You know, it's about an industry.
At some point in time, it has to be owned by a whole lot more other people than just the 2 of us. We can't hoard it. It's not ours. Sport does not belong to people, to a person. It belongs to people. But where do we see it going forward? We see it as a success. In the background, I normally say to people see a cup of tea being served. They don't know who brought the sugar, who brought the milk, who brought the cup, who brought the sauce that serves that coffee. In the background, there's a whole lot of other things that are happening, sacrifices that are being put by a lot of other people. It might not be money, it might be time, it might be experience. We've got a big team behind that. We've got other people that are even greater and better than me and Isak for that matter.
Inside, that's what I want to see in the sport. Not just drivers. I mean, there's people that can't be a driver because he hasn't got the talent, but he's a good mechanic, or he's a good presenter, or he's a good showman, or he's a good, you know. Now think of this thing as a show business and say, well, you know, what do we need to make this happen, and how many opportunities can one create for the future and for this industry
that are part of this team. And there's other things that we're doing. There's the Val Showgrounds that we're revamping to host spinning, to host other forms of sport where we can bring in the passion again into the sport.
Passion, you do it because you love it and because it's dear to you. And for me, it's about a legacy that I want to leave behind, and something that I feel is important, you know, for me as a person. And I take it serious that if I look at the legacy I want to do and the legacy I want to leave behind is to obviously have an all-inclusive sport and to make it happen for all South Africans. I think one must have the respect for the past, what happened in terms of our country, you know, disadvantages that certain people had, and take the responsibility.
More than anything, you know, you must understand, motorsport generally has predominantly been a white man's sport in this country.
Take it up, acknowledge it, and work out a plan, a balanced act for the future, and get the majority white-owned people to buy into the vision.
It's also been at its best when it was sponsored by big corporates in South Africa. Probably then, there were a lot more people identifying with the sport. With the new rebranding of the series, as you say, partnering with Mr. Isak Spies, brought a new dimension completely in how things should be done in the sport.
Some people don't like motorsport. Like, for instance, I like it, but my wife feels it's boring. So how do I entertain her? How do I entertain kids? How do I entertain everybody? And I think and that was the reason for creating a show, you know, music, spinning, drifting, flea markets. You know, some people like to drink while they look at cars, you know, so how do we look after them? So it's I think it's an all-inclusive show on the road. People must know if we come to that city or that place, that's going to be a speed weekend of good fun, good racing, good everything.
Because like any other business, what drives a business is numbers. What would drive the future of the sport and how it becomes in our country is the people that we appeal to. We need to make sure that the series appeals to a broader audience than a few. So the opportunity of myself and Isak coming together and joining hands as brothers under a common theme of Africa Race Together. You will see everyone that's around us wears the Africa Race Together theme. We're hoping to create a new movement, completely. A new movement that sees no color, no race. A new movement that brings opportunity to all. It's something that we both believe in.
So I think the platform has been created and the platform is working and the world is looking. And I think it's already acknowledged by SRO. If we take the 9-hour Kyalami, you know what Zolile did there, I mean, he's a wonderful guy, and the exposure we got. You know, government now all of a sudden sits up. You know, corporates are sitting up and say, hell man, this is real, this is genuine. And I think that's, well, we hope, you know, that they all buy to it. And I think they have a responsibility. They have a responsibility to support this thing. They did it before. Why don't they do it now? So I think we must call on our corporate and government to support this initiative. We have taken it. We've put our money where our mouth is. We've created the platform. And I think, like they say, the proof is in the pudding. And people can see the difference. They talk about it. So let's not stop there. Let's make it happen. We're not here to promote a racial sport. We're not here to promote anything else than talent and give people opportunity. Whether you're white, green or pink, it's not about that. For us, it's about talent, exposure.
Talent is one thing. Exposure is just another. What has always bugged me or bothered me about the sport is how few a number of young people are in the sport at an early age. Let me give you an example. Look at the two young men that have been part of my journey, Kwanda and Stuart White. Look at when they started their racing career. At age 6, the other one at age 5, at age 7. Today they are almost, one is 20 or 21, one is 17 going 18. They've been racing for 10 years. This is now where I say talent and exposure are important, but exposure is even greater. You get exposed to this sport at an early age. You get taught the right behavior, the right principles about the sport, then talent comes out. Without that honed at an early age, we will fail. So we need to build the grassroots and the early development of everyone in the sport.
You know, we coming from karting, and we had this lull for 3 years because of COVID. And we felt that, you know what, looking at his age and looking at his aspirations to be abroad, we had to make the big leap of faith. And we were really, really, really so honored in that both Into Africa and Marius, MJR, both suggested that, you know what, we need to get Kwanda out of polo as soon as possible, which was, I think, a very bold move, yet the best move we could have ever made.
I won't lie, in the beginning it was a bit of finding my feet, moving from a front wheel drive car to a rear wheel drive. But then I think, like, naturally with being a racing driver, you are forced to adapt, which I'd say happened quite quickly.
He's loving the car. Number 2, he is really got to grips with a good team. That is so fundamental in any sport. If you've got a good team behind you, then you're acing away. And I think he just never had that during Polo Cup. And unfortunately, it was a blessing in disguise that we made this move.
On my end, it wasn't that much of a big step, but for my career, I'd say it was probably the biggest step.
And I'm so happy for him because this takes a lot of hard work. I mean, I looked in East London. At one point, Chop Sipuka radioed him and said, could you do another hour? And he literally finished the race and did a 2-hour stint on his own, which he had never done before.
I think it'll be, again, another battle of strategies, just trying to avoid pit stops and just trying to stay on track as long as we can and just get as many laps under our belts.
But it just showed you the lap times were good. Marius had said to him, stay at 26s at one point. And then when we saw the Porsche coming, he said, Kwanda, it's time for you to put foot now. Get down to 24s. And he did just that, and we won. So what I'm saying is, the experience he's gaining here will do him so well in what he endeavors to do abroad. And I think I would definitely say it was the best move that we could have ever made.
Stuart White got into the car yesterday, my car, did a 108 here. Same car I got into it today, did a 115, started racing 5 years ago. You see, There's no talent, there's no exposure. It's just passion. So we need to start honing and exposing more kids to the sport, then talent will come out. We're going to create a movement behind this. And I hope it will appeal to even bigger sponsorship where diversity and inclusiveness is a challenge. They can take this belief and practice it in their own environments and hopefully support our cause. So that's how the Africa Race Together concept started. You will see from the development series that we did with Stradale, we had Stuart White, we had Kwanda, we had Monica, we had the other boy. Out of that series, 2 years now, Stuart has been overseas, sponsored by that movement. And last time I checked, Stuart is a white African boy from Free State. But in my eyes, he's just another son that I could have adopted or had. He's my son. Next year, we're giving a shot to Kwanda. So we are really believing that Africa Race Together. We would have, under that concept, we would have sent 2 young boys. Doesn't matter what color they are, but we would have done the right thing. Thank you.
That's it for the pre-race show, folks. So make sure to make your way to Aldous Krabanti Raceway this weekend to see the action live. There will be jumping castles, food stalls, a beer garden, plenty to do, and of course, plenty racing and music. Tickets for Friday and Saturday are available on our website, or you can get them at the gate. The live stream starts tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. on our social media channels, so check it out there, or we'll see you at the track.